Let's talk about how you can start compressing the golf ball a little bit better because one of the most common complaints I get on the lesson tee is, Justin, I just don't feel like I compress that ball very well. What can I do to compress it better? And so before we talk about how, we need to understand what it actually is. And so when someone says they compress the ball really well, what's actually happening is when they hit the ball, they've got the handle or the grip in front of the club head. And so as I push the grip forward, you can see that the little magnetic tool on the club head, it points less up and it points more down and forward. And so essentially what's going to happen is if I'm able to deliver more shaft lean or have the grip of the club ahead of the club head, what's actually going to happen is the ball is going to come out a little bit lower and it's going to come out a little bit faster. So when you hit one with some forward shaft lean, it's got that awesome feel like, man, it comes out fast, it comes out a little lower, and it's got that awesome sound to it. And so how do we get shaft lean, right? Everyone wants shaft lean, but how do we actually get it? Well, we need to first understand that a couple variables need to be in place before we can start to just add shaft lean. And so what I'm really referring to is by far the most common reason I see amateur golfers not be able to deliver shaft lean is if the club face is too open in the late stages of the downswing. And by too open, I just mean that the toe of the club is pointed back up behind me as I start this late process in the downswing. And so this would be an open club face, this would be more of a neutral club face, and this would be a closed club face. Well, if I was that golfer that had the club face super open and the toe was pointed back behind me, and I did exactly what I'm telling you to do to compress the ball and added a bunch of shaft lean, well, what you're going to notice is the arrow on the club is pointed way off to the right. And so for a right-handed golfer, that ball is long gone to right field, and you're probably never going to want to do that again. And so what those players typically tend to do is with the face open, they will actually learn to keep the grip of the club behind the club head and push the club head past their hands to get the club face more square. However, you can see how high that arrow on the club is pointed. I'm not going to be able to compress the ball at all, but it does get the golf club to look like it's aimed very straight. And so I am able to hit my target, but I'm not able to really compress the ball that well. And so this is where we really need to focus on where is the club face in the late stages of your downswing. And if you want shaft lean and you want to compress the ball, my recommendation is, hey, let's video your swing, get it on slow motion, and check it out, because the odds are it's probably not in a neutral to closed position. It's probably in a more open position. And so if that's you, I would recommend let's do some slow swings where we really try to feel like in the late stages of the downswing, we overly close the club face to give yourself a feel for what it's like. And so now with this club face in a more closed position, if I try and deliver a bunch of that shaft lean, you can see the arrow is now pointed much straighter. And so that makes shaft lean like actually doable for a golfer, and you can still hit your target doing it that way. Now, if you need a feel or a drill for what shaft lean really should feel like, I like to take an alignment stick and put it on the lead side of the golf club. And so now I'll apply my grip as normal as I can. And the goal here is to make swings without hitting yourself in the side with the alignment stick. And so as I do this, I really feel like my hands and the grip of the club stay ahead of the club head, that my body rotates very well. And again, if I do that backward shaft lean move, or I let the club head pass the hands, you're going to hit yourself in the side. So of course, do short, slow swings to start. Maybe just hit the ball 20, 30 yards. But really feel like, man, my hands get all the way past my left leg before I strike the ball. And the benefit of this drill too is if you're doing the drill and you're hitting the ball off to the right, which is very common when I have players do this drill, you'll then realize, man, my club face is too open in the late stages of the downswing. I need to get it more in this position so that when I do this drill, the ball can fly a little bit straighter. So shaft lean is massively important if we're going to compress the ball, but unfortunately it's not the only thing that helps you compress the ball and feel all that ball speed. And one of the most probably underlooked skills in golf is controlling where you strike the ball on the club face. And so we've all hit shots and we've felt the club like twist or the grip moved in our hand. Well, really what's happening is we're hitting too far out on the toe or too far out on the heel. And in both of those scenarios, you're losing compression and ball speed. And so what I like to do with my players is first identify which half do we tend to hit more. Do we hit more of the toe or do we hit more of the heel? And to do that, what I'll do is I'll place two tees by the golf club or the head of the club, and I'll put one just outside the toe and one just outside the heel at a little bit of an angle there. And so now as we make swings, if we come through and we hit this outside tee, we know that our tendency is to strike the ball more on the heel. Not good, right? If we come through and we hit this inside tee, well, we know that the tendency is to hit the ball more out on the toe. My challenge to you would be, if you identify that you have a toe bias or a heel bias, practice doing the opposite. Now, of course, there are mechanical reasons people will tend to hit the heel or tend to hit the toe. I'm not denying those, but I am saying you've all hit one solid before, so I think if we develop some skills, we can learn to do it more repeatedly. So if I'm a player who constantly hits the heel and we always take out this outside tee, I'm just going to ask, can you set up normal and try to take out the inside tee? Learning to do that will offset your tendencies and give you an ability to have some awareness as to where the strike location is. Unfortunately, most amateurs, they don't even know. They don't really have the awareness as to where they're hitting it. And I find more often than not, there's a bias somewhere. So obviously my goal for you long-term would be, hey, can we swing through this gate and not disturb either of the tees? But nonetheless, that is a super important drill if you want to learn to compress the ball better. Now, we've got some shaft lean, we've got a good strike. There is one more piece that we sort of need to cover, and that is, it's a big word here, it's called the obliqueness of the strike. And so essentially what I'm referring to here is, are your face and your path close enough together to get you the ball speed that you want? So I'm going to use two alignment sticks here to demonstrate. The red one is going to be the club face. And so now, right, we've got that club face in a good spot. We hope that it's pretty square at impact, okay? And so the club face, I'm just want to point it right at you because that's going to refer to like a square club face. If the path of the golf club is more than a couple degrees outside in or inside out, there's going to be an obliqueness. So the further these vectors are away, the less ball speed you're going to get on your shot. And so the closer we can get these vectors, the more compression you're going to be able to experience. So yes, we need shaft lean. Yes, we need a good strike in the middle of the club face. However, if we have a crazy outside in path or a crazy inside out path, there's going to be so much obliqueness or space between these two vectors that you're going to lose some ball speed. So hopefully this helps you with your compression. Thanks for watching.